Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with truly, absolutely the worst Bruckner Symphony cycle ever. And it's this one. Now, it was in my list of worst Bruckner symphonies ever, the 5 worst, but we didn't really get a chance to talk about the whole set. So I think as a public service, we should go through every wretched and repulsive moment and go over some of the absolutely abominable highlights. It's this one featuring the Altomonte Orchestra of St. Florian, which doesn't really exist, and the Upper Austrian Youth Symphony under Rémy Ballot, or Ballot, or whatever he wants to call himself. This is just beyond horrible. Now, horrible Bruckner cycles come basically in 3 varieties for the Trinity, you see, because he was very spiritual. First, there is the period instrumenty, minimalize everything, pint-sized orchestra, grotesque miniaturization approach of Mario Venzago, which we talked about. Then there is the just totally bereft of ideas, the saturated with ennui approach, which we get from like Barenboim and Telemann. Barenboim in his 3rd cycle, where he has nothing to say that he didn't say better in his previous 2, or Telemann, who just has nothing to say and couldn't say it anyway if you wanted to, and who makes the Vienna Philharmonic sound bad. So we're recapping sort of those 5 worst things. But then there is this. This is the post-Celibidache, egomaniacal, pulverizingly slow, heart-on-sleeve, spiritual, kind of slimy, faux, transcendental, crazy approach, which we get here. And it's the worst of them all. It really is. I mean, it features... Well, it's that cult of amateurishness that Bruckner seems to encourage amongst many interpreters. I think that's because you could probably learn to read music in the time it takes to go from one note to the next, because at tempos like this, they're so glacial. And it's unplayable, by the way, at that speed. The orchestra can't possibly do it. There are countless examples of this. But let's go through this and see which editions he uses, because there are some atrocious choices there, too. Yes, it's just a fiesta of pulverizing mediocrity. Anyway, so first we've got Symphony number 0. Okay, fine. Symphony number 0, who cares? It's just a boring and worthless piece of music anyway. Then we've got the First Symphony in the Vienna version, not the Linz version. Most people prefer the Linz version. I prefer the Linz version. I don't make a big deal between the 2 of them. Then we've got the Second Symphony in the first version of 1872, edited by Carrigan. This performance takes 84 minutes. The First Symphony takes 65 minutes. Ugh. It's just lunacy. 84 minutes. Can you believe it? Then the Third Symphony, first version of 1873, that takes 89 minutes with a 32-minute first movement and a 24-minute finale. I mean, that is just wrist-slittingly dull. I mean, even if he were able, like Celibidache was able most of the time, not all of the time, to energize his orchestra, that would be just... Ugh. Then the fourth. Well, the fourth is in the 1888 horrifying, illegitimate version, edited in a critical edition, a beautiful critical edition that should never exist, by Benjamin Korstvedt. It is Bruckner falsified by his buddies, and whether he ratified it or signed off on it or whatever, which is all conjectural anyway, because nobody knows what he really thought. It's an edition that should never exist. Osmovenska did it too. It was just horrible. Then we've got the fifth, which only has one edition, thank God. A performance that takes Oh, 89 minutes and 32 seconds. With a 28-minute long finale. Then the sixth, which we get through in a mere 69 minutes. It's a good 10 minutes slower than it has any right to go. I mean, the Adagio is 21 minutes. The finale is 18 minutes. It's comatose. Absolutely crazy. Now, the seventh is actually only 73 minutes and proceeds at relatively normal tempos. It doesn't matter, but it does. So it's the Novak edition, by the way. And let's see, we have the Eighth Symphony. Well, this is just, let's say I have to add 2 discs here. 37 minutes and 19 seconds plus 66 minutes. So that works out to 96 plus 103, am I right? I think 37 and 66. Yeah, because 37 and 63 would be 100. So 37 and 66 is 103 minutes. It's, well, I mean, Celibidache did really slow too, but 33-minute long Adagio and a 32-minute long finale in the Novak version with the cut finale. And then the ninth is the ninth, and it's just 77 minutes. Oh, with, first movement and Adagio both lasting longer than half an hour. So that's what you get. All right, sit down, Finster. Thank you. Now, even allowing for the ridiculous tempos, these would be appalling performances. Why? Because the orchestra is second rate, both cases, second rate, third rate, whatever. I mean, everything about the way this is handled is misconceived and snake oil sales. There's this, first of all, the recordings were made in St. Florian, Bruckner's own abbey, where he went and played the organ once in a while. The idea that there's something magical about St. Florian is absolutely ridiculous. It's a big, blowsy acoustic, which is certainly not ideal for the performance of symphonic music, particularly not Bruckner's. Yes, there have been a couple good performances recorded there, with some fairly clever and very professional miking, like Boulez's Eighth, and Joachim did a recording there, but you can tell from the acoustic, it softens the textures, it rounds everything out, okay? It rounds everything out, and it makes it very difficult to secure rhythmic accuracy, which you don't get here, because even if the tempo is glacially slow, attacks and releases and rhythmic values should be crisp, and they are never crisp in these performances. There are all kinds of spliced entrances and things that just aren't going the way they're supposed to go, that lack the accuracy that the music demands, and which would create tension and excitement at these absurdly slow tempos. You need accuracy if you're going to be that slow. Celibidache understood that, by the way. He really did. When Bruckner wrote something in march rhythm with crisp fanfares, they're crisp. They may be slow, but they're crisp. Celibidache had a great orchestra, the Munich Phil. This guy doesn't. So that's one issue. The other issue is that at this speed, the orchestra simply can't summon the stamina to sustain a fortissimo, for example, as long as Bruckner writes, because Bruckner writes almost terrace dynamics, long passages at a single dynamic. And at this speed, it's unendurable for the players. You hear it most graphically at the end of the Fifth Symphony, where the huge chorale comes in at the end, and they're totally out of gas. There's nothing left. Absolutely nothing. There's no feeling of culmination whatsoever. And the textures are all clogged because of that wonderful St. Florian acoustic. I mean, Bruckner is buried in the crypt below the organ in St. Florian. And if you listen carefully in that performance of the Fifth, you can hear him spinning underneath there in his grave, and this dim person in an Austrian accent screaming, Lass mir auskommen, ich will him sterben. You know, something like he wants to kill him. It's such a disgrace to the memory of the great man. It really is. I mean, the fact that all of this nonsense associated with Bruckner himself is going to give these performances some patina of authenticity is just hogwash. Absolute, total nonsense. And the sonics aren't great. These are live recordings from people who probably had to be prodded with an electronic instrument to wake up and applaud at the end, which they do. God knows why. I mean, they must have been just maybe because it was over and they were thrilled. One after another in these symphonies, we find the same problems. Problems of coordination, ensemble, balance. The eighth with the youth orchestra. Oh, those poor children. I said it before. It's absolute child abuse. Absolute child abuse, making them play the thing at this tempo. How this man gets away with this crap is mind-blowing. But of course, there is always some jerk, there's a fool, who will fund this kind of incompetence and, think that they have done some sort of, boon to world culture as a result. And that's what happened here, I'm sure. The label is Gramola, not granola, as many of you have pointed out. It's Gramola. I thought it was granola, too, by the way. But granola is crunchy and crisp and sweet and tasty, and this is none of those things. So, this is, without question, the most horrible Bruckner cycle ever conceived in the history of humankind. I'm not saying there can't be worse. There can always be worse. That's one thing we've learned, I think, from, the history of, recent events in the world and music as well. So, there you go. Knock yourself out if that's what you want. A big box of bad Bruckner from Gramola. Yuck. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.